Jake Morrison walked into the big meeting room on Nexus Prime. The room was full of noise. Aliens from all over the galaxy were talking in their strange languages. Some made clicking sounds. Others growled. A few sang in high voices that hurt human ears. Jake had been coming to this room for 15 years. He was the person who spoke for all humans in the galaxy. But nobody ever listened to what he said. The aliens thought humans were stupid, and today they were talking about space pirates. Bad guys were attacking ships in the far parts of space. They were stealing things and hurting people. The aliens could not stop them. The bug-like alien in charge was called Vex Prime Jala. She was as big as a horse and had sharp teeth. Her 6 legs made tapping sounds on the floor when she walked. She looked at Jake like he was dirt. "The human can talk now," she said. Her voice sounded like she was making fun of him. Maybe has another simple idea that will not work. Jake felt tired. So very tired. For 15 years, he had tried to help these aliens. He had given them good ideas. He had warned them about dangers. He had offered human ships and human soldiers too. Keep everyone safe. The aliens never said thank you. They acted like humans owed them help. They took everything humans gave them and asked for more. But they never gave humans anything back. Jake looked around the room. He saw the tall blue aliens from the Zalani group. They thought they're living. Ships were the best in the galaxy. But Jake knew that human ships had been protecting their trade routes for years. The Zalani never knew this because they never bothered to check. He saw the crystal people called the Keth. They looked like walking diamonds. They thought they were so smart. But the colonies only had clean air to breathe because humans built machines to make it for them. The Keth thought these machines just worked by magic. He saw dozens of other alien types. All of them had been helped by humans. None of them knew it. None of them cared. Jake had brought a big plan to the meeting today. It showed how to stop the pirates. It had pictures and numbers and everything. It was a good plan. It would work. But looking at all these alien faces, Jake knew they would just laugh at him again. Something changed inside Jake. He was done being treated like garbage. "Important members of the council," Jake said in a loud, clear voice. The room got quiet. The aliens were surprised. Usually, Jake sounded nervous when he talked. Today, he sounded different. For 15 years, humans have come to these meetings. We have given you our best ideas, We have shared our technology. We have sent our ships to fight for you. We have sent our people to die for you. We never asked for much back. We just wanted you to treat us fairly. The aliens started to look worried. This was not how humans usually talked. Today, I was going to show you another plan to fix another problem that you cannot solve by yourselves. But I am not going to do that. Instead, I have something else to tell you. Jake smiled, but it was not a nice smile. It was the kind of smile people make when they are very angry but trying to stay calm. Starting right now, humans are leaving the Galactic Council. We are taking back all our ships. We are taking back all our people. We are canceling every deal we made with you. We do not want to be part of your club anymore. The room exploded with noise. Aliens were shouting and clicking and growling. They thought this was the funniest thing they had ever heard. A mean-looking alien named Krex stood up. He had red skin and yellow eyes. "Humans cannot live without us protecting them," he said with a nasty laugh. "They will come back in a few months, crying and begging us to let them join again." Jake picked up his papers and started walking toward the door. The aliens were still laughing. They thought humans were too weak and stupid to survive alone. "Hey, bug lady," Jake said, stopping at the door to look back at Vex Prime Jala. "You should check who has been fixing your communication systems in the Perseus arm. Here is a hint. It was not your precious Zolani friends. Jake walked out of the room. Behind him, the aliens were still laughing, but a few of them had stopped laughing. Few of them were starting to look worried. Jake felt good for the first time in years. These aliens were about to learn some very hard lessons. They were about to find out what happened when you treated your friends like enemies. As Jake walked through the space station, he saw human workers everywhere. They were fixing machines. They were running computer systems. They were keeping the lights on and the air clean. The aliens walking past them never even looked at them. To the aliens, humans were invisible. That was about to change. Jake reached his ship and sent a message to every human in the galaxy. The message was simple. Come home. Bring nothing that belongs to them. Leave everything that belongs to us. Then ours. Human ships all over the galaxy received the message. In space stations and on planets, on military bases and in research labs, humans started packing up their personal things, but they left behind all the machines they had built. They left behind all the systems they had been running. Left behind all the technology that kept alien civilization working. And in every piece of human-built technology, it's a special computer program activated. It was called Protocol 7. Jake had insisted on putting it in everything humans built. Just in case something like this ever happened, Protocol 7 would turn off every human-made machine in the galaxy. Jake smiled as his ship left Nexus Prime. The real show was about to begin. The aliens thought humans were weak and helpless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The lights were about to go out all across the galaxy. And then the aliens would understand exactly how much they needed the humans they had spent so many years insulting. Jake looked at the stars through his ship's window. Each star had planets full of aliens who were about to have a very bad time. But maybe, if they were lucky, they would learn something important. Maybe they would learn to say please and thank you. Maybe they would learn that humans were not their servants. Maybe they would learn that friendship works both ways. The galaxy was about to get a very expensive education. Captain Amy Rodriguez stood on the bridge of her ship, the UES Phoenix. Around her, 57 human ships were getting ready to leave Kepler Station forever. Amy had been the military commander for this part of space for 8 years. Kina, she was taking her people home. All ships are ready to go, Captain, said Nick Turner from his control station. He was her second in command and had been with her for 5 years. Kepler Control wants us to wait. I say, we need to talk more about this. Amy almost laughed. Tell Kepler Control that we stopped wanting to talk when they decided to cut our votes in half while making us do twice as much fighting for them. On the big screen in front of her, Amy could see alien ships moving around quickly. They were not running away exactly, but they all seemed very interested in being somewhere else when the humans left. Captain called Lisa Park from the communications desk. 17 different alien governments are trying to call us. They all want to make deals to keep some humans here. Too late for deals, Amy said. Start Phase 1. All human military ships go back to human space right now. All human equipment gets shut down using Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was beautiful in how simple it was. Every machine that humans built had a special lock in it. When humans sent the right signal, the machine would just stop working. It did not matter if aliens were using it. It did not matter if aliens needed it. If humans built it, humans could turn it off. Traffic control systems that guided ships through space. Communication networks that let people talk across the galaxy. Defense platforms that protected planets from attack. Gravity machines that many aliens needed to live normally. All of it would just stop. Amy watched as her ship entered hyperspace. Behind her, Kepler Station's lights started going out. At the station was built by aliens. but it ran on human power systems. Without those systems, the station was just a big metal can floating in space. Far away in the Perseus arm, Roy Chin was having the best day of his work life. For 8 years, he had taken care of the communication network that connected 47 star systems. Billions of aliens used this network every day to talk to each other. None of them had ever learned how it worked. They just expected it to always be there. It's turning off all communications now, Roy said to a small team on Relay Station Alpha 7. All human networks going dark in 3.2.1. Roy pressed a button. Across the galaxy, the lights went out. Not real lights, but the invisible lights that carried messages between the stars. Suddenly, star systems that had been talking to each other for hundreds of years could not say a single word. Dr. Helen Price was doing the same thing at Titan Labs. She was the boss of all alien medical research. For 15 years, she had worked to cure alien diseases and fix alien health problems. She had saved billions of alien lives. Not one alien had ever said thank you. Are we really doing this, Helen? It's Dr. Gary Stone. He was her helper and had worked with her for 10 years. They were getting ready to destroy 15 years of medical research rather than leave it for the aliens to steal. Gary, in 15 years, have you ever heard a single alien say thank you for our medical help? Gary thought about it. No, actually, they always acted like we were supposed to help them, like it was our job. Exactly. Let them make their own medicine. Helen looked at the computer files that contained cures for dozens of alien diseases. The cure for Zilani fever that killed millions every year. The genetic treatments that let the crystal people live in normal air. The medical databases that had saved more alien lives than any war had ever taken. All of it was locked behind codes that only humans knew, and humans were taking those codes home. As human ships, scientists, doctors, and workers pulled back to human space, they left behind a galaxy that was about to learn a very hard lesson. On the planet Zilani Prime, Admiral Corinthia was already seeing the first signs of trouble. His bioships were getting ready to patrol the trade routes that humans had been protecting. But something was wrong with his navigation systems. The computers that told his ships where to go were showing nothing but blank screens. What is wrong with our systems? Corinth VA asked his technology officer. Sir, it appears the navigation data was being provided by human computers. We do not know how to make our own star charts. 3 star systems away, the Keth Collective was facing a bigger problem. Their colonies needed special machines to make the air breathable. These machines were very complicated and needed constant care. The crystal people had never learned how they worked because humans had always taken care of them. Mining worker Tony Blake had been one of the last humans to leave Keth space. As his ship jumped away, he left behind instruction books and warning signs, but the signs were written in human language, and the crystal people had never bothered to learn human writing. 6 hours after Tony left, the air-making machine on Keth Prime started making poison gas instead of clean air. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was falling apart. Without human communication networks, it took days for news to travel from one part of the galaxy to another. When the news finally arrived, it was all bad. Speaker Vex Prime, Shala, found herself dealing with more problems than she could count. Even the council building was having trouble. The power kept going on and off now that human fusion reactors were turned off. Emergency lights made scary shadows in the big meeting room where she had made fun of humans just days before. Give me a report. She clicked to her helper. Klex. Speaker. Everything is getting worse. The outer colonies have lost 47 worlds to pirate attacks. The crystal people say their air is turning poison on 16 planets. The trade routes in sectors 7 through 15 have completely stopped working. Nobody knew that humans were providing navigation information for those space lanes. What about the inner worlds? The hegemony is asking for emergency help. Their computer systems are breaking down. It seems humans were protecting them from cyber attacks, and we did not know about it. Jayla's mouth parts clicked with frustration. How long until we can fix everything? Klex looked at his datapad. His hands were shaking. Our engineers say it could take 5 years to maybe never. We do not understand how most human technology works. Back in human space, Jake Morrison was getting more and more desperate messages from his old alien friends. The messages had started polite, asking what humans really wanted. They quickly became demands and threats. Now, they were just begging. Jake, his assistant, Carol Fisher, said, "The Zilani are offering exclusive trade deals if we will just protect the Perseus arm again." What about the crystal people? They want to share their crystal technology if we help them breathe again. And the council? Carol smiled. The council voted to give humans permanent seats on the executive board, complete veto power and 50% more territory. Jake leaned back in his chair. Interesting. What does our spy network say about the galaxy right now? Galactic civilization is collapsing, sir. Infrastructure failures, communication breakdowns, economic chaos. Smart people think it would take them decades to rebuild what they lost in 1 week. Good, Jake said. Tang sent a message to all the alien governments. Tell them humanity appreciates their generous offers, but we need time to think about them. Tell them our thinking will take about as long as it takes them to learn how to say please and thank you properly. Jake looked out his office window at Earth below. For the first time in 15 years, human ships were coming home instead of going out to help ungrateful aliens. Human colonies were reporting huge economic growth now that they were not paying to support alien infrastructure. The galaxy was learning a very expensive lesson. And humans were finally getting the respect they had earned long ago. The first big disaster happened in the Outer Rim just 3 days after humans left. Space pirates attacked a convoy of merchant ships near the Zilani border without human patrol ships keeping watch. The raiders quickly figured out that alien security forces were weak, scattered, and had no idea what they were doing. Admiral Corinthé of the Zilani Navy watched in horror as his bioships were destroyed one by one. The pirate fleet should have been easy to beat. They only had simple weapons and basic ships, but somehow they were winning. How are they cutting through our bio-armor so easily? Corinth VA demanded of his weapons officer. Sir, the defensive systems were programmed by human technicians. We do not actually know how they work. For years, human engineers had been upgrading Zilani ships and teaching them how to fight. But the Zilani had never paid attention to the lessons. They thought their living ships were naturally superior to anything pirates could build. Now they were learning that their ships were only good because humans had made them good. The pirate leader, a scarred alien named Frack, laughed as he watched another Zilani warship explode. These fools have no idea how to fight without their human babysitters, he told his crew. Send word to all raider fleets. The galaxy is ours for the taking. Atia. Star systems away, the Keth Collective was facing an even worse crisis. The crystal beings had built their colonies on planets that could not naturally support their kind of life. They needed special machines to make the air breathable and the temperature right. Humans had built these machines and kept them running. For decades, now the machines were breaking down. And the Keth had no idea how to fix them. Crystal Engineer Quartz 9 stood in the control room of the atmospheric processor on Keth Prime. Warning lights were flashing red all around him. The machine that had run perfectly for 20 years was now making terrible grinding sounds. What does this symbol mean? He asked his assistant, pointing to a human warning label on the main control panel. I do not know. None of us learned human. Writing We thought it was not important. The atmospheric processor had been left with detailed shutdown procedures and safety warnings. Human engineer Tony Blake had spent his last day on Keth Prime writing clear instructions about what to do if the machines started having problems, but he had written them in English. And no Keth had ever bothered to learn human languages. 6 hours later, the machine that was supposed to make clean air started pumping out poison gas instead. The crystal city of New Quartz had to be evacuated. In panic, as toxic clouds rolled through the streets, on the other side of the galaxy, the hegemony was discovering their own terrible secret. For 15 years, human computer experts had been quietly protecting hegemony networks from cyber attacks. The hegemony government had never known about these attacks because humans had stopped them before they could cause damage. Now, with the humans gone, computer viruses and hacking programs were flooding into hegemony systems like water through a broken dam. General Deckmore watched helplessly as his military computers crashed one by one. Battle plans, troop movements, supply schedules, everything was being deleted or corrupted by invisible electronic enemies. How long have these attacks been happening? He barked at his technology chief. According to these logs, for 15 years, sir, the humans were stopping thousands of attacks every day. We never knew because they handled it all quietly. Did they not tell us? They did, sir. Every month they sent reports about network security. We threw them away without reading them. We thought human computer skills were too primitive to matter. Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, Speaker Vex Prime, Jala, was learning that her problems were much bigger than she had imagined. The Galactic Council building itself was falling apart without human maintenance. The lights kept going out. Air was getting stale because the recycling systems were failing. Even the artificial gravity was becoming unreliable. How many emergency reports do we have now? She asked her aide Klex. Her voice sounded tired and scared. 237 critical situations, Speaker, and more coming in every hour. 47 colonies lost to pirates. 16 worlds with atmospheric failure. Economic collapse in 12 sectors. Computer system failures across the hegemony. And we still cannot contact half our member worlds because the communication networks are down. Gala's legs clicked nervously on the floor. What about our own engineers? Can they not fix these problems? No, Speaker. It turns out that most of our advanced technology was actually human technology that we did not understand. Our people learned to use it, but they never learned how it worked. Okay? In the galactic stock markets, panic was spreading like a disease. Trading companies that had been rich for centuries were going bankrupt overnight. Without human-maintained navigation data, cargo ships could not find safe routes through space. Without human security patrols, pirates were stealing entire fleets. The Brinks Corporation, one of the biggest trading companies in the galaxy, watched their stock price fall to almost nothing in just 3 days. CEO Flex Alpha had always bragged about how his company succeeded without any help from primitive humans. Now, he was learning that humans had been providing navigation, security, and communication services that his company had depended on completely. How? Much of our operation was dependent on human infrastructure. Flex Alpha asked his operations manager. All of it, sir? Navigation, communications, security, even our accounting systems. Humans built or maintained everything. We just used it and took credit for our success. On dozens of worlds, local governments were collapsing as they realized they could not provide basic services without human technology. Power grids failed without human fusion reactors. Water treatment plants stopped working without human-designed filters. Even simple things like traffic lights and elevators were breaking down. The planet Vega 7 had been proud of its modern cities and advanced infrastructure. But Mayor Glixbod watched his capital city descend into chaos as every human-built system failed at once. Streets were flooded because water pumps had stopped. Buildings were dark because power generators were offline. People were getting sick because the medical scanners in hospitals no longer worked. How did we become so dependent on humans without knowing it? Glickspot asked his city planning chief. They were just always there, sir. It's fixing things, upgrading things, maintaining things. God, we stopped paying attention to what they were doing. We thought our cities ran themselves. Back in human space, former ambassador Jake Marson was watching the disaster unfold with mixed feelings. Part of him felt sorry for the innocent aliens who were suffering, but most of him felt satisfied that the galaxy was finally learning the truth. The casualty reports are getting worse. His assistant, Carol Fisher, told him. Thousands dead from atmospheric failures. Millions more in danger from pirate attacks. The galactic economy has lost 60% of its value in 1 week. Any change in their attitude toward us? Jake asked. Oh yes. The same aliens who called us primitive last week are now begging us to come back. They are offering us anything we want. Money, territory, technology, political power. Some of them are even offering to make humans the ruling species in their sectors. Jake nodded slowly. And what do our analysis teams think? How long can they survive without us? Conservative estimates say complete civilizational collapse within 6 months. Optimistic estimates say they might rebuild to current levels in 50 to 100 years. But only if they can stop fighting each other long enough to work together. Jake looked out at the stars, knowing that each one represented solar systems, full of aliens who were having the worst week of their lives. For 15 years, he had tried to help them, tried to warn them, tried to make them understand that cooperation meant treating partners with respect. They had refused to listen. They had called humans primitive, weak, and expendable. They had taken human help for granted and given nothing back. Now they were paying the price for their arrogance. And maybe, if they were very lucky, they would learn something from it. The galaxy was getting an expensive education in the value of saying please and thank you. 6 months after humans left the galaxy, everything had changed. The beautiful trade networks that connected thousands of worlds were broken into small pieces. Pirates controlled entire sectors that used to be safe. Technology development had stopped completely as alien species learned that most of their machines actually depended on human knowledge. Dr. Sarah Kim sat in her new laboratory on Luna, watching reports from across the galaxy. She used to be the head of the Human Medical Exchange, helping aliens fight diseases and stay healthy. The reports coming in now were terrible, but she was not surprised. The Zilani plague that had been controlled for 5 years was now spreading without any way to stop it. It was killing people on 7 different star systems. Without human medical databases and research, alien doctors were basically starting over from the beginning. They are dying out there, said Dr. Ben Taylor, her colleague who worked with her. He was looking at the latest casualty numbers on his computer screen. Yes, they are, Sarah agreed calmly. Just like humans died for 300 years before we developed our medical technology. The difference is, we did it without anyone helping us. Should we not at least offer some humanitarian aid? Sarah pulled up a video file on her computer. This is from the Galactic Medical Conference 2 years ago. I watched Speaker Jala's response when we proposed working together to prepare for pandemics. In the video, Jala's bug-like mouth clicked dismissively. Human medicine is crude and primitive. We have no need for such simplistic approaches to healthcare. Now watch this, Sarah said, switching to a newer video transmission. In this one, Jala was practically begging for human medical help. Her usual arrogance was gone, replaced by desperate fear. Ben shook his head, sadly. I still feel bad for the innocent people caught up in this mess. So do I, Sarah replied. But every human colony that was refused medical aid, every human research proposal that was dismissed as worthless, every time they called our medicine primitive. Those were innocent people too. On Earth, President Lyndon Johnson was dealing with the political problems of humanity's withdrawal. Her approval ratings had gone through the roof as former human colonies reported massive economic growth. Without having to subsidize galactic infrastructure, human worlds were becoming richer and more prosperous than ever before. But she was also facing pressure from humanitarian groups who wanted to resume aid operations to help suffering aliens. The situation is complicated, she explained to her cabinet during their weekly meeting. Our withdrawal was necessary to show our value, but we cannot let it become genocide through neglect. Secretary of State Frank Lewis nodded in agreement. We are walking a fine line. It's a little response, and we look heartless. Too much, and we are back to being taken for granted. What are the aliens offering for renewed cooperation? Asked Defense Secretary Rachel Murphy. Everything, Frank replied with a bitter laugh. Complete technology sharing, territorial concessions, permanent council seats, guaranteed representation ratios. The hegemony even offered to make human languages mandatory in all their schools. President Johnson smiled grimly. And 6 months ago, they would not even provide us with accurate star charts for our own patrol routes. Meanwhile, in the Perseus arm, former communications technician Roy Chen was working as a civilian contractor for the newly formed Human Commerce Guild. His job was simple. Look at alien requests for communication, network restoration, and figure out which clients could actually afford human services. The Keth are offering 30% of their crystal production for 5 years. Its partner, Janet Wells, reported from her desk. The Zelani want to discuss mineral rights to 4 uninhabited star systems. What about the council themselves? Atia, ARE, they are offering voting rights based on economic contribution. That would make humans the largest voting bloc in the entire galaxy. Roy whistled softly in amazement. 6 months ago, we could not get them to listen to our security recommendations. Now they want to hand us control of galactic government. Fear is a powerful teacher, Janet observed. They're finally realizing that human technology was not primitive at all. It was actually more sophisticated than anything they had. The irony was not lost on any of the humans involved. For decades, alien species had dismissed human technology as crude and simple. They called human tactics unsophisticated, inhuman, contributions minimal. Now they were discovering that their entire civilization had been built on a foundation of human expertise they had never bothered to understand in the Outer Rim. Pirate fleets were growing bolder every day. What had started as small raids on isolated convoys had become full-scale invasions of entire star systems. The alien defense forces were helpless without human coordination and support. Pirate King Rock now controlled 17 star systems that had once been peaceful trading hubs. His fleet had grown from 12 ships to over 300 as desperate criminals flocked to join him. Sent a message to the Galactic Council, Frack told his communications officer. Tell them that the Outer Rim now belongs to the Free Raider Alliance. If they want to trade through our space, they pay our taxes. The message caused panic in what was left of the council government. They had no military force capable of challenging the pirates. Their own navies were barely able to protect their home worlds without human support. On Nexus Prime, Spica Jala was facing the complete collapse of everything she had worked to build. The Grand Council chambers where she had once ruled over dozens of species were now mostly empty. Many governments had stopped sending representatives because they could not afford the cost of travel without functioning trade networks. How many member worlds have we lost contact with completely? Ski asked Klex during their daily crisis meeting. Ski speaker, we have not heard from them in over a month. They might have been taken by pirates, or their governments might have simply collapsed. And how many are openly negotiating with the Human Commerce Guild without council approval? 67 that we know of. Probably more that we do not know about. Jala's legs clicked nervously. The proud Galactic Council that had ruled space for centuries was dissolving before her eyes. Member worlds were abandoning the Alliance to make their own deals with humans. Others were being conquered by pirates or destroyed by infrastructure failures. In human space, the contrast could not have been more dramatic. Human colonies were experiencing a golden age of prosperity and growth without the burden of supporting ungrateful alien civilizations. Human resources were being invested in human development. New colonies were being established at a record pace. Scientific research was advancing rapidly without having to share every discovery with species who gave nothing in return. Human military forces were being upgraded and expanded to protect the growing human sphere of influence. Ambassador Jake Morrison received daily reports about alien comets begging for human assistance. The offers were getting more desperate and more generous every week. The Vegan Republic is offering us exclusive rights to 3 entire star systems, Carol Fisher reported. The Centauri Alliance wants to establish a joint government with humans as the senior partners, okay? And the Keth Collective is offering to share their crystal growing technology in exchange for basic atmospheric support. All very interesting, Jake replied, okay? But I notice none of these offers include an apology for 15 years of insults and contempt. Sir, several of them do now. The Zilani Council formally apologized for their previous attitude toward humanity. They are calling it a grave error in judgment. Jake leaned back in his chair and considered this development. An alien government had actually apologized to humans. It was probably the first time in galactic history. What do our intelligence services say about their internal situations? Complete social and economic collapse across most of known space. Governments falling, infrastructure crumbling, military forces deserting or turning to piracy. Conservative estimates suggest that without immediate human intervention, at least half of all alien civilizations will cease to exist within the next 6 months. Jake nodded slowly. The lesson was almost complete. The galaxy had learned what it cost to insult and dismiss the species that had been quietly keeping civilization running. Soon it would be time to see that they had learned how to ask nicely for help. 1 year after humans left the galaxy, Ambassador Jake Morrison returned to Nexus Prime. The space station that had once been full of confident alien activity was now a broken shadow of what it used to be. Emergency lights flickered in hallways where human-built power systems had once provided steady light. The Grand Council chambers echoed with the sounds of failing air recycling systems. Speaker Bex Prime, Shala, met Jake at the docking bay herself. This was a sign of respect that would have been impossible before the withdrawal. Her once shiny shell looked dull and cracked from stress. Her movements were slow and careful, not proud and arrogant like before. Ambassador Morrison, she clicked, her translation device crackling with poor maintenance. We are honored by your return. Jake noticed she had used a formal language reserved for respected equals. For 15 years, she had spoken to him like he was a servant. Speaker Shala, I trust you have had time to consider humanity's terms. Your terms are ... comprehensive. They were indeed. Humanity's proposal for coming back was 47 pages long. Every page dealt with a specific insult or unfair treatment from the past 15 years. Equal representation in all council votes. Mandatory consultation on any policy affecting human space. Technology sharing agreements that actually benefited humans. And most importantly, formal acknowledgement of human contributions to galactic civilization as they walked through the stations. Damaged corridors. Shala could not help but ask, did you know? When you walked away a year ago, did you know how much our systems depended on human work? Jake stopped to look at a broken air recycler. It was one of thousands of human-built devices that aliens had taken for granted. Some of it dandy, but honestly, even we were surprised by how dependent the galaxy had become on human infrastructure. Your people are more capable than we realized. No, Speaker. We are exactly as capable as we always were. Hey, you simply chose not to see it. In the council chambers, Jake faced the representatives of 43 alien species. The chamber was only half full. Many species had been too damaged by the human withdrawal to send delegates. Those who had come looked desperate, defeated, and for the first time in galactic history, genuinely respectful. Honored delegates, Jake began. He noticed how the title felt different now that it actually meant something. Humanity is prepared to resume our role in galactic civilization, subject to the terms we have outlined. The Keth representative spoke first. Her crystal form was dim with malnutrition from breathing bad air for months. The terms are acceptable. We formally acknowledge human technological superiority and requests immediate atmospheric support for our dying colonies. The Zilani admiral was equally humble. His bioships had been mostly destroyed by pirates, and his fleet was down to just a few vessels. We accept all territorial concessions and request immediate medical assistance. Our people are dying from plagues we cannot cure without human knowledge. The hegemony delegate, General Deckmore, looked like he had not slept in weeks. We agree to make human languages mandatory in our schools and accept human oversight of our computer systems. We desperately need protection from cyber attacks. One by one, every species in the chamber formally accepted humanity's terms. Species that had once considered humans primitive now acknowledged them as the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Governments that had dismissed human warnings now begged for human protection. Very well, Jake said, finally. Humanity accepts your acknowledgement and agrees to resume limited cooperation under the new framework. Captain Amy Rodriguez will oversee the restoration of critical infrastructure. Dr. Sarah Kim will coordinate medical assistance, and I'll resume my role as human representative to this council. He paused, looking around the chamber at faces that had once shown him nothing but contempt. But understand this clearly, we will never again allow our contributions to be minimized, our warnings to be ignored, or our people to be dismissed. The galaxy has learned what it costs to lose human cooperation. We trust you'll not forget that lesson. The restoration began immediately. Human ships started returning to their former posts, but under very different conditions. For once, human patrols had been quietly ignored. Now, alien governments publicly thanked them for their service. Where once human engineers had worked in the background, now they were celebrated as the heroes who kept civilization running. Captain Amy Rodriguez watched her crews repair the power systems on Kepler Station. Alien workers stood nearby, watching carefully and taking notes. For the first time, they were actually trying to learn how human technology worked. They seemed different, observed Lieutenant Commander Nick Turner. They are different, Amy replied. Fear teaches better than arrogance ever did. Dr. Sarah Kim was having similar experiences as she coordinated medical relief efforts. Alien doctors who had once dismissed human medicine as primitive were now studying every human technique with desperate attention. Dr. Kim, said Dr. Quartz 7, the lead Keth physician, we would like to establish a permanent exchange program. Our people need to learn human medical methods. Of course, Sarah replied, but this time it will be a real exchange. We share our knowledge, you share yours. Hey, and everyone says, please and thank you. The economic recovery was even more dramatic. With human protection restored, trade routes reopened almost overnight. Pirate fleets that had terrorized the galaxy for months suddenly found themselves facing coordinated human naval forces and were quickly destroyed or driven into hiding. Pirate King Vok, who had controlled 17 star systems just weeks before, was captured during a human raid on his headquarters. As he was led away in chains, he spat at his captors. You cannot stop all of us. There will always be pirates. The human marine escorting him smiled. Maybe, but now there will always be humans hunting them. 5 years later, the galaxy operated under principles that would have seemed impossible before the human withdrawal. The Galactic Cooperation Accord, as it was now called, was based on mutual respect and fair exchange. Technology sharing was truly mutual. Military contributions were proportional to benefits received. And, most importantly, every species' contributions were acknowledged and appreciated. Human space had expanded to nearly a quarter of known space. Not through conquest, but through grateful allocation from species. We finally understood the value of human protection and expertise. The old jokes about primitive human technology had been replaced by galactic appreciation for human ingenuity. Ambassador Jake Morrison, Cajo Denaro of Human External Affairs, occasionally walked through the restored council chambers and marveled at how much had changed. Alien delegates listened respectfully to human proposals. Alien engineers studied human techniques. Alien leaders routinely sought human advice on complex problems. The galaxy had learned, finally and completely, that civilization was a team effort. And some team members were more essential than others had ever imagined. President Lyndon Johnson, speaking at the 5th anniversary of the withdrawal, summarized the lesson perfectly. We did not want to rule the galaxy. We just wanted to be treated as equals while we helped hold it together. Sometimes the only way to teach people your value is to let them discover what life is like without you. Jake Morrison smiled as he watched humans and aliens working together as true partners for the first time in galactic history. The cost of the lesson had been high, but the results spoke for themselves. After all, some lessons can only be learned the hard way. And the galaxy had finally learned to say please and thank you. The lights were back on across the stars. And this time, everyone knew who had built them.